the New York Mets don't have enough to get over the finish line. 4 games to go. They still have the 1-game lead because the Diamondbacks and Reds both lost in extra innings last night. You watch that game, you tell me why anybody on earth who watches baseball would believe that the Mets can actually finish strong here over the next final 4 games to get themselves into the postseason.
There's nothing that I could say except that they don't necessarily have to finish strong because the other teams aren't playing that well. That's the only answer at this point. That is the only hope. This is an unwatchable circus. I don't know what the hell's wrong with this team. I really don't. I mean, it's almost just too simplistic to say that they're not good enough. I mean, we've seen teams in our city where we know they're a little light in terms of talent. And, not that that's a good feeling, but we can at least understand why they're falling a little bit short. I don't know how many times we've seen teams with high-level talent at the top end that are just disintegrating in this manner on a night-by-night basis. Even their wins are ugly.
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, there are a lot of different little things you could point to that are frustrating, but ultimately it boils down to the starting pitcher. You can't continually have guys that go out there and give you a couple innings. Like Jonah Tong. How does stuff look last night?
Not good.
Yeah, well, that's the point. And I can't even blame him because he's a young kid. He shouldn't be in this spot, But I was more shocked what Tong did last Thursday against the Padres than I was what he did last night against the Cubs. I expected that. After now you look at his last 3 starts, 2 have been god awful. And yet everybody's telling me how great Jonah Tong is. And that's just one example. And it's all about Noah McClain now. Tonight he's got to be the savior. But think about the back-to-back starts that they had from Peterson and Tong. We are in the bullpen immediately. And now you've got 15 guys coming out of the bullpen each night to a point where last night Clay Holmes and Minaya are getting in the game.
Doing throw days in games.
Okay, so that's why when I say the Mets don't have enough, if you project this forward, and you could do this last week when they had 9 or 10 games to go, whatever it was, they literally don't have enough. We could argue about who you'd start, who you'd take out of the rotation, who has good stuff, who doesn't. Ultimately, there are no good answers for the Mets. And now I think it's finally caught up with them. No off days, 4 straight days to go. They've got to win these games. And they have, outside of McClain tonight and a bullpen that with Diaz and Rogers and really getting the night off last night, you would expect this to be the A game tonight. So they have to win this game tonight against the Cubs. And even if they do, what's going to follow over the weekend? Like, they don't even have. So, yeah, Sproat's going to get a start. Then it's going to be a bullpen-heavy game behind him because that Maxi's 6 innings. And then who the hell's pitching Saturday and Sunday against the Marlins? Like, they're toast. I'm sorry. They're done.
Okay, so what I don't understand, I need you to help me with this because I really don't understand this. I understand being light, and I understand giving the baseball to kids who probably aren't ready at this point, and that is out of necessity because the guys who are making real money and the veterans who are supposed to carry the mail have not done their job. We all understand that. It's unfair to Tong. I do like his stuff. He looks overwhelmed right now. I can't even waste time on that. The poor kid is in a position he shouldn't be in right now.
Because they have no choice.
100%. 100%. Now, can you explain to me why the other basic components of the baseball team are just falling apart? And it's not that, it can't be that, well, it's 157 games and they're tired or, they're finishing up on the road. I mean, this is the marathon that every other baseball team goes through. I mean, the Cubs are going through it as well. They didn't play well against the Reds the previous series. They looked a little more buttoned up last night. Why can't the Mets catch the baseball? Why can't the Mets suddenly function on the most basic level? That's not Tong. That's not Sproat. That's not a bullpen that's tired. They're not even catching the baseball.
Yeah, but it's not all of them. Like, do you think Pete Alonso's a good defensive player?
I thought that he became serviceable, but he's suddenly taken a massive step back.
Well, I don't.
So the answer would be, in a long way, no.
Yeah, I don't think he's taken a step back. I just don't think he's ever been good. Like, he's good at picking balls at first.
Yeah.
He can't throw.
Yeah, he can't throw a lick. We all know this.
And he's not a great fielder. Yep. I'm not picking on him. I'm just starting with him.
Yep.
So I don't think he's a good fielder. So when he makes mistakes, it's not like, what the hell's happening here? That to me is like, well, he's not very good defensively. You think Mark Vientos a good defensive third baseman?
No, I think he's got a good arm. I think he's got a really good arm, and I think his hands are awful.
Me neither. I don't think he's a good third baseman defensively.
Yep.
I would bet that.
Well, then why isn't Baty playing?
Because of matchups, and that's
the matchups.
issue.
I know he said that last night. I hear you. The lefty stuff. At least Baty's going to catch the baseball.
Yeah, but even he's not great. But yes, he's a much better defender. But they're trying to get the offense there. Like, that's the sign to me of just you don't like. It's not like, wow, what the hell's going on here? Vientos making an error. It's that Vientos not very good defensively.
Okay, but then why isn't Holmes covering home plate? That's what I mean. Like, the mental components are not there. The physical, like, some things we understand. Sometimes you ask people to do things that they're not really equipped to do because they don't have the talent, or they're just not refined enough yet because they're young, like in the case of Tong. What the hell's Holmes' excuse?
There is no excuse.
The ball goes back to the backstop. He's staring down at the dirt.
Yeah, a guy scoring from second. You know why?
Oh, my God.
Because he's thinking that he needs to be better, and he's frustrated with the pitching that he's had lately. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. It's an excuse. We saw it with Garrett Cole last year in the World Series. It happens when guys are just thinking. I'm not absolving him from the blame. It's just a little bit of everything with them. Beatty getting picked off the bases the other day. Like, guys being put in bad positions, guys not being able to field balls properly. Also, guys that aren't just good, period. Whether it's good defensive players, whether it's good enough offensively. Like, it's a culmination of things. But I really do believe that it all stems from the starting pitching. I mean, I've never seen anything like this on a team that has this much talent, that can't get starters. Like, the worst years of watching the Mets, their starters would go 5 innings, and it wouldn't be very good 5 innings, but at least you go 5 innings, maybe 6 innings, give up 4 or 5 runs. Okay, that's a bad start, but at least you give 6 innings. These guys are going 2 innings.
They're getting 6, 7 outs, if you're lucky.
Dude, and it's been going on for months.
I know it has. And listen, we knew that there was going to be some residual damage downstream with the bullpen. And we say that not just specific to the 2025 Mets. We talk about that a lot. When you have bullpens that are used early, April, May, I mean, that's one of the most basic components of baseball. How many times have we said on the radio? We said this about the Yankees over the years, too, sometimes. Well, what's the bullpen going to look like in the dog days when you're running them out there every day in the first couple of months of the season? Listen, I still think they're going to get in only because I don't trust the Reds. I don't trust the other teams, the Diamondbacks. I don't trust the teams. But they look and they feel and they act like a losing team. Yeah. That's what they look like right now.
Like a dead team.
Yep.
Now, maybe if they own the tiebreaker over the Reds or Diamondbacks, I'd feel differently. But even the math to me doesn't add up to them going. I know right now it's like, well, all right, well, a day comes off the calendar and they still have a game lead. But to me, it's really not that. There's 4 games to go. Like, the Mets could have a game lead on the final day of the year and lose, and one of those 2 teams win, and they're out.
Yes.
Like, so you could take, so 1 game lead with 4 to go to me is not comfortable.
Tonight's tonight. Tonight's tonight.
Well, because it's McClain.
Tonight's
and if he doesn't give you some, like, McClain's got to go at least 6 innings, and then you have to hope, cross your fingers, stop me if you've heard this before, Rogers, Raley, Diaz, their best guys in some form, preserve whatever lead they have, assuming that they could actually get a lead and not fumble all over themselves. Like, I just think it's too much to ask at this point. And the Reds and Diamondbacks, one may keep losing. I think the Reds are going to win today. They're not going to get swept by the Pirates. They almost came back yesterday. Like, okay, they lost their 2 games. They're going to get a win today. At least one, if not both of those teams, will start to win a couple of games here in the final 4.
Yeah.
So even if they went 2-2, like, I don't trust that the Mets are going to win tonight, and I don't trust that they're going to take 2 out of 3 from the Marlins.
I feel pretty good about tonight, but the Marlins thing, and listen, we talked about this yesterday. We were kind of just pushing this forward, like, all right, who's going to pitch Saturday? Who's going to pitch Sunday? Well, it looks like a combination of Minaya and Peterson. We talked about this. Peterson, I mean, I know things can change, but if you give the baseball to Peterson with a must-win situation on Sunday, Mets aren't going to the playoffs. If you go to in my opinion, if you go to the situation on Saturday where you have to win and Minaya starts the game, Mets aren't going to the playoffs. Like, to me, there's one hope. I mean, that they score 8 runs and they just bludgeon a couple of teams down the stretch and they outscore them.
Yeah, and hope that you can hold the other team off.
Hope you can hold on.
Dude, here's all you need to know, and then we'll get to the calls here, 888-808-1019. The night before, their all-star, David Peterson, couldn't get it out of the second inning, okay? They had to go to 6, whatever it was. 6. Last night, there's 5 games to go in the season. You're fighting for your playoff lives. Richard Lovelady is on the mound in the 3rd inning.
Dude.
Richard bleeping Lovelady.
This guy, his name just cracks me. It's like you can't make it up. It's like, Richard Lovelady's on the mound.
5 games to go. The highest payroll in the sport. You're fighting for your playoff life. You watch that game in the 3rd inning, and Richard Lovelady's in.
My son goes, who the hell's this guy?
Same.
Last night.
Same, Colt.
Who is this guy?
And then not only that, you have to go to your starters. Like,
I know.
This is not even us saying, like, oh, they don't have enough. Or they're showing you. Like, Mendy's like, I don't know what you want me to do.
I know.
I legit, and I thought about going to this game tonight because my buddies are going. I just can't make the trip. It's impossible to take the time off. It's chaos for us, like, busiest time of the year. But, I feel like if I showed up in the stands at Wrigley tonight, Mendy may turn to me and be like, Licata, you got anything for us? Like, I could use you. That's how, like, they will take anything they could possibly get. Maybe they should call up R.A. Dickey. Forget about Dickey Lovelady. Call up R.A. Dickey, who was blowing knuckleballs by Piazza on Old Timers Day. Like, maybe go get him. He can get you out of
Johan looked pretty good, too, in the alumni game. It's got that good changeup still.
Put it this way. R.A. Dickey can't be worse than David Peterson, Jonah Tong, or anybody else that's been pitching for the Mets outside of Noah McClain for the last 3 months.
Listen, I know that we said this, but this has to be said again. In a pennant race here, where every out matters, the Mets last night went to not one, but two guys who should be throwing in the bullpen to get ready for their next start, and they pitched in the game last night. And didn't pitch particularly well, by the way.
BT and Sal on the Fan. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Jack is calling from Hoboken. What's up, Jack?
Hey, Jack.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Yeah, so the Mets have, a lot of issues. Like the strength of their lineup, way too inconsistent. But, David Stearns brought this upon himself by being way too cautious when it comes to pitching. Like, it's absolutely unacceptable that you're bringing up a 22-year-old in a pennant race and expecting him to save the day when you have the richest owner in baseball. And that's why, you see the Yankees are still a World Series contender and the Mets are not.
Well, I don't think it's just that. I think the Yankees are far better, and thank you for the call. See, when the season is over and the Mets do, in fact, miss the postseason, Stearns is going to be the number one bullseye. He'll be the number one target, and rightfully so. However, what makes you think Stearns was counting on Jonah Tong? He wasn't. He had no choice. It is fair to criticize Stearns for the lack of quality arms in the offseason. However, they did have 9 serviceable starters that almost to a man, every single one of them has fallen apart. Did anybody think Minaya would not pitch well when he came back? Did anybody expect that Kodai Senga wouldn't be at least serviceable since he came back from injury? Like, those guys you can't blame Stearns for. You want to get on Holmes. You want to get on the others.
Montas.
Yeah, and they did have, that was
just not giving you the whole picture.
Yeah,
Griffin Canning was pitching pretty well before he ruptured his Achilles, to be fair.
Yeah, trade deadline. Again, Tyler O'Meara, like a lot of their depth, not that I'm saying that they're great, but
they had a lot of arms.
A lot of their depth. They did have quantity, not quality.
I agree with that.
They did have quantity. And then it was one by one guys dropping like flies. And then the guys that you relied on, like the 3 biggest culprits to me, Peterson, Minaya, Senga. Those are the 3 that you have the highest expectations for. And all 3 have been disasters for the last 2 months. And those guys, to me, you can't get on Stearns for. Everybody else, yes. Those 3, I'm not so sure you can get on Stearns for.
I mean, whenever we have the conversation about the Mets offseason, Stearns he's going to get absolutely crushed because I think he's had an awful year this year. Not that I think that he should get fired. I'm not saying that at all. He won't be. But I think almost every move that he has made has been an F. But we have time to talk about that. But I said this 2 weeks ago. I said there's really only 2 factions or groups that have really done their job. The owner's done his job. Right. Cohen's cut the checks. And the fans have done their job because they've showed up. Of course, Soto's had a great statistical season.
Soto,
and McClain, so has Pete.
Yeah,
but I'm saying, when you look at the hierarchy of a franchise, right? So you have the ownership, you have the GM, you have the manager. Owner, A+ this year. Mm-hmm. GM, to me, an F. Mendy, about a C- or a D. That's just my opinion. So now you get into the players, and Lindor's been hot recently, but he's been a little bit up and down. All the things, we can get into the weeds with your own. We don't really need to do it now. But when you have a GM that has had the kind of year that Stearns has had, you're in trouble. Much like now, Cashman finally, to me, gets like an A- or maybe higher, which is why the Yankees have some life. But if Cashman had maybe the trade deadline or the offseason that he's had in prior years, I don't think the Yankees would have the opportunity to maybe do what we think they could do because the GM elevated them. And I don't even mean to bring the Yankees, but I shouldn't even do that. But I think really Cashman elevated the Yankees this year, and I really think that Stearns' moves really It just brought the Mets down.
Well,
everything he did has failed.
It's actually hard to miss on as many as he's missed.
It's almost impossible.
Almost everyone has been a disaster.
Yeah.
However, the reason why the Mets are in this predicament to me is a combination of Stearns' bad moves, off-season, in-season, whatever, plus the players sucking. Like, it's not just, well, Stearns, you put this team together. Oh, did anybody not want David Peterson, Sean Minaya, or Kodai Senga in the rotation? And now those guys can't get anybody out. Like, that's 3/5 of the starting rotation. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't have come to that.
That part's fair. That's fair.
So it's not just all on David Stearns. Anybody not want Mark Vientos in the lineup?
No, but think about if center field was handled differently. Think about if he did get another starter, which a lot of us were saying that he should.
I know, but who's that guy?
I don't know.
But he relied on the young guys to come up instead of going out there in the trade deadline, and that has actually worked. Like, McClain has been a stud. There was no arm that he could have gotten on the trade deadline that would have been better than Noah McClain.
Well, the one thing, I hear you on that because there were no other arms outside of, Bieber, right, that were really dealt. I hear you. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't maybe incentivize a team to give up somebody that they didn't. Like, when people say, well, nobody was traded, what did you want them to do? Well, what I would say, whether it's Stearns or anybody else, how about you construct a deal that's appealing enough to maybe make somebody trade you somebody?
Right, but then who would have been that guy?
I don't know. That's his job.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Well, I just don't think that there was a definitive, like, they got to go get this guy. I remember feeling at the time, whatever. Because you're also factoring in, well, Senga's coming back, Manaya's coming back, and they could go into the minors. All of those things happen. It's just that Senga couldn't get anybody out. Minaya couldn't get anybody out. Peterson fell apart. They did go to the minors, and one of the guys is a stud. The other two have at least been serviceable for the most part. Like, I mean, I don't know what more he could have asked for there, but there is no doubt about it that Stearns has had an F of a season. Jimmy is calling from Smithtown. What's up, Jimmy?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. I know this maybe sounds simplistic, but ever since that time, Soto said that Marte was the leader in the clubhouse. I don't know. Things seem to have gone downhill. I mean, there's other contributing factors, of course. You know, the pitching and the not hitting in the clutch. But it just seems since that day, really, like the whole vibe around the team just isn't the same.
Well, really, it was before that, though, Jimmy, and thank you for the call. And nobody really made a big deal about that, and I was shocked that nobody did make a big deal about that Soto clearly saying that Marte was the leader in that clubhouse. But that, to me, like, they've been playing bad since June 13th. That came out at the end of August.
Yep.
Even if you look to August, like, the Mets have been playing poor baseball from August on. So I don't think that has to do with why they're struggling.
I don't either, and we talked about it a little bit. I didn't think it was a big deal. I thought it was more like Soto was trying to illuminate Marte's strengths rather than downgrade Soto. That was downgrade Lindor.
Yep.
Pardon me. That was my take then. And that's still my take. And by the way, if you think about the three components that were involved in that, Soto has played very well since then. Lindor has hit very well since then. And Marte has been very good since then. So the other stuff I can't possibly quantify. But see, I don't use, and the Mets aren't collapsing. This is not like a 17 to go and up 7. This is not that. This is not 2007 or 2008. Though I would not use the word collapse. I would use the word implosion.
Right.
It's different. Like, collapse tells me you got a couple of games to go and suddenly you just lose your way and somehow you fall apart and you just choke it away. It's not a choke job or a collapse. It's just an inner implosion, like the guts of the team. When you lift up the hood for the Mets,
they don't have enough.
It's not pretty, man.
They don't have enough. A collapse is what is going on with the Detroit Tigers. I mean, that is a collapse. And by the way, the sport is it's wild. The Blue Jays are collapsing.
I'm not seeing that. Let's go.
I'm
Suck on that, Buck.
Like, that is a part of it. And not yet, but it will happen eventually. The Blue Jays, Yankees, I can't wait. It's going to be a sweet victory lap if the Yanks do, in fact, pass the Blue Jays and win that AL East. But yeah, that to me is like, Blue Jays choking away a division. The Tigers full-blown collapse. The Mets just don't have enough. They've been trying to hang on. They don't have enough, and I don't know how they're going to get through the final 4 games. Maybe outside of tonight with McClain, there are no answers pitching-wise for the next 3 games beyond tonight. BT and Sal.